Firstly, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. I'm delighted to be here today and given the opportunity to share some thoughts with you. What I'd like to do is talk about the consumer is still king, but also just reflect a little bit on some insights we've got about how that consumer of maybe 2 or even 3 years ago is changing, becoming much more mobile, much more online, and really social in how they use social media. As Olivia mentioned, I look after enterprise marketing within Vodafone. So I get to see both sides of the market out there. I get to see what small businesses are seeing in corporate organisations. I also get to see the end consumer and how they're reacting. So let's just start. Some good news and some bad news. The good news for many of you, you've already told us, we've been out and we've asked SMEs, what do you think? And you've already told us the consumer is still king. So firmly on your agenda. The bad news, however, when we asked you about what you were doing about it and what you thought your priorities as SMEs were, 80% of you already said improving and strengthening customer relationships is one of your key challenges and action plans for this year. So what that means in principle is lots of you are probably already thinking the same things. And in a market that you heard from Danny, where demand's likely to be a bit more constrained, it means those of you that can innovate and do things differently to reach that demand and talk to that demand will probably be more successful. So I talked about consumers becoming much more mobile, online and social. What does that mean in practice? Let's just look at a few key stats. Let's start off with some research that looked at how many people have used online as a purchase channel. Now, 3 in 5 consumers in Ireland have already used online. That might be on a fixed PC or a desktop, but secondly, when you then start to look at how many people are now using smartphones, you can see that 49% of people now have smartphones in Ireland, and that's some research that was commissioned in November. When you look forward a year, this research grows to show that 71% of people will have smartphones. So you take the situation where people are using online as a purchase channel. Now people are starting to get smartphones in their hands, which means online gets very personal, very local, and very useful to someone individually. And then you look at an example where other online services, take Facebook, very successful service globally, launched across lots of markets, 900 million users worldwide, but they're now getting 55% of their use on mobile devices with very different characteristics. So what I would argue here is you're probably about to see a fundamental shift in how people use, research and consume information about your businesses. And the thing that's really heartening for me is you've got a great story. As we saw early on, many of you have been in business for more than 21 years. What that could mean is you're a little bit worried or concerned about what this means, or is it really for you, or is it important? Do you need to think about it? And I would argue not only are consumers doing this now, becoming much more mobile, online and social, but also increasingly so, they will make purchase decisions based upon this trend. A couple of other stats just to bring that to life. So the first one is, of people who own smartphones, how many people go on to make purchase decisions or research companies based on that information? Over 80% of people make a buying decision using their smartphone. So what that means in practice is 80% of people will take a smartphone. They might be at work, they might be at home, they might be using it somewhere on the train or on the travel system. And we'll use that smartphone to research a product and service, to find out about a brand, to engage in a business and decide whether they want to take a next step or not. We saw that approximately, looking at some research from Google, approximately 50% of people are using smartphones to make that decision at home, but 1/3 of people are using that smartphone at work. So when you start to think about the change in buyer behaviour, no longer is it likely that someone will sit and spend a lot of time in front of a PC and really look at different products and services and different suppliers they'd like to work with. It's more likely that they might be using it for a very short space of time with a very targeted purpose. They know what they're looking for, they want to get a quick result and then make a decision. What I would urge you to think about therefore is how easy is your business to do business with online and on mobile. And I'll give you a few more little tips and just some practical suggestions on things that I've seen work well with other companies. So the next key thing, if more and more people are using smartphones and more people are becoming active and engaged in brands in very different ways, in different times. Speed of response becomes really important. You no longer have as much time, or indeed have the audience attention for as long as you possibly did have, either with a retail store or a traditional online presence. Likewise, if customer expectations keep rising, when someone's demanding a response or information, they want to get it as quickly as possible. And again, we did some research back in February and just looked at what does that mean for employees, or what does that mean for people that are trying to do business in the current climate. First one is the working days extending. 2/3 of workers that are using mobile technology are checking and responding to email before 8 a.m. And 1/3 are then checking and responding to email after 9 p.m. So as an employer, that's got great benefits. You can respond to customer queries outside of what might be core business hours. But also what it means is if you're selling to those kind of customers or consumers, they're going to expect to engage with you in very different times. Early in the morning, late at night, possibly even through their working day. So how you're staffed up, resourced, and able to respond to that becomes really important. So what should you be thinking about? What are some of the things that I've seen work well, and what are some of the things that we've seen have helped other companies get out and reach this new audience? Well, the first one is social and digital media. Now, what I'm not going to claim is it's right for everyone. And also, I think the really important point on social and digital media is you need to do something that makes sense for your business. There's not a one-size-fits-all approach. I wouldn't recommend you all start tweeting and build Twitter accounts overnight. But what I would say is think about how you could use social and digital media to get more for your business. Really great example, I was working with some startups recently and just listening to their stories about how they were engaging customers in their business to strengthen customer relationships. And one of the startups had a really nice story, which was they said, look, at the end of the day, customers buy our products. If we don't sell the customers the right products, they're not going to buy them. So they use social media to talk to their customers about the products they want to range and the products they're going to range and get feedback. Now, if a customer votes and says, we really like that product, we love the idea, the product moves up the rankings. If the product gets high enough in the rankings, the retailer ranges that product on the basis that there's enough people creating the demand and signaling and voting with their feet. And that's a real-time response mechanism. You're not going to be able to put something in a shop and hope it's going to sell and drive demand through advertising. What you can do here is actually find out what people want and tailor your offering to them. So that's the first example. Second one is targeted promotions. What do I mean by that? Well, in a market where demand's constrained, you need to go and drive more demand. And you have to get out there and talk to people about things they want that are relevant in a targeted way. And a great example here is you've probably got lots of customer data. You probably already capture lots about your customer relationships, whether it's mobile numbers, even telephone numbers, email addresses, or home addresses. Now, whether you use that effectively or not, I can't comment upon. You will know yourselves and your business, but you've probably got a vast pool of customer data you could use to target highly relevant offers. A great example here is a story where we work with a customer I'm going to talk a little bit about in a moment, Pat Whelan of James Whelan Butchers. And Pat Whelan had a stunning insight, which was his traditional business had been built around local relationships, and he wanted to continue that and use promotions as a means of driving additional sales of his particular product. And for him, a targeted promotion was when the weather's hot and sunny, people get the barbecue out. When people get the barbecue out, they want to buy more meat. So Pat's idea was instead of relying on people coming into store and buying the meat from Pat, one of the things he did really successfully was build up his database of customer records and people that had bought from him, and eventually telephone numbers and mobile numbers. And when he saw that it was going to be a sunny day, he started to send targeted promotions. So he would say, tomorrow it's going to be a nice day, we're doing a special offer on beef burgers. Why don't you come and get 10 beef burgers for €10? It's for you, you're a valued customer. And it was texted out to a large number of customers. And as a result of this one promotion that was very targeted, it went to people who he knew liked to buy meat. It was very relevant because it was going to be sunny the next day and chances are people wanted a barbecue. He sold 10 times as many burgers as he would normally have sold on a normal day by allowing that customer to walk into the shop.
Jonathan, 2 minutes.
Thank you. So the key point there is be very targeted, and there's lots of things you can use. Bulk text is an example, and pushing out messages to customers, or even services such as Voucher Cloud or Groupon, which allows you to ask for a portion of customers that are available in the market and send them highly relevant targeted offers based on location, preference, or even based on what they're currently looking for or subscribed to. The third one, a really simple story, is using what are called QR codes or smartphone applications. And that's thinking about how do you link your business into things that people can do that are very easy to get access to your information. The story I would give here is, as a parent myself, quite often weekends are spent with the kids and you don't have as much time as you might want to have with them, so it's really important that you do things they enjoy. I took my 2 small boys to a soft play area. We're having a great time, and I thought, isn't this fantastic? It was down in Bray, and I noticed there was a QR code on the wall. I thought, I wonder what that's all about, and all it said was, find out more about great places for kids to play. Used the smartphone QR code, which is basically a barcode you read on your mobile, downloaded a very simple app, and now I've got a range of offers and relevant things to me as a parent that tell me about stuff for my kid. The trick there was it wasn't a phone number or an address or somewhere to go. It was a very simple response mechanic. Click here, get an application, get some offers that are targeted to you, and now go and work with people that can help you feel good because your kids enjoy themselves. So great offer. And the final one, I would just urge you to think about how easy is your business to find out about, to get information about, and to work with using mobile devices. Either one simple example, does the page render for your website on a mobile phone? Does it work on Android? Does it work on iPhone? Have you got a phone number on there that when people click on it, goes straight through to call? Or are you forcing people to go out of the site and then type the number in manually? Because the minute you do that, you'll see people drop off. Is your information laid out cleanly and simply enough that people can get access to it? And think about, more importantly, as more and more people use these devices in different places and different times, how can you make sure you capitalize upon the audience and the information they want? And for me, I think the key overriding message is we know that driving demand is difficult, but we also know that customers are fundamentally changing. And whilst it might be early on the journey, those businesses that can get ahead of the curve and adapt will find that they're very successful. And I referenced Pat Whelan earlier. Not only is Pat Whelan a fantastic butcher, he's also an award-winning digital marketeer now. And in fact, Pat himself has over 11,000 tweets and 4,500 followers on Twitter, which regularly drive his business. So with that, I'd just like to wish you all a fantastic conference, and thank you very much.